Hey, it's the Rooster. Bobby Leach, SouthwestSportsNet.com. Coney live for Cheap Seats alongside my partner here, Big Tone.
How's everybody doing out there? Oh, excuse me. Hold on.
Yeah, he's got a, what are you, a prima donna?
Well, let me tell you there, Rooster. How's everybody out there doing out there? Let me tell you, a little shot of Mountain Dew. I'm really happy now. A good weekend for football, let me tell you.
I think he's got some go-go juice in him.
Woo-hoo! Good weekend. Lincoln Way East makes me just like Albert Einstein. Remember their last Cheap Seats, Rooster? We can't. I'm going to have to bring this up right now. You took the ball. You said that my Lincoln Way East Griffins were going to win, and you bet it against me again.
Well, you know what? I got to give it to you. You know, every time I bet against you, you have won. And kudos to Lincoln Way East. I think Lincoln Way Central gave you a scare for the first, 5 minutes?
4.5.
4.5. I mean, they played tough. I mean, you know, but again, Lincoln Way East is just, you know, they're on fire this year. I mean, there's no question about it. They've got a good football team. They had a good football team last year. They went 10-1 last year. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's nothing new to say that Lincoln Way East is a good football team. I think Lincoln Way Central, I think what I was trying to say last week is my upset special is I'm going to go out on a limb, man. If you're going to pick an upset, pick an upset.
Yeah, you did go out on a limb, and the limb broke, and you fell 4 stories. Let me tell you.
No, the limb didn't break. I went out on a limb, and Tom Fusel sat there with a saw and cut me off.
Let me tell you, I want a special shout out to Tom Fusel Sr. He's an avid cheap seat watcher. He stopped me. He goes, "Hey, you're Big Toe." And I'm like, somebody knows me? Yeah. Wow! Woo!
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? I mean, you got one fan. Mr. Fusel, if you're out there watching, he's got one fan. One fan. But, hey, listen, you know, at the end of the day, look, it was a good game. It was, I think it's the last team that stood in East Way, honestly, that had any shot at beating them. You know, East has got to follow up. I mean, this week they play on a Saturday, which isn't going to throw them up, but they're playing at Joliet Central. And unfortunately, man, Joliet Central. I mean, the only thing that Joliet Central needs is a blindfold and cigarette. Because at this point, you know, I think it's a firing squad. They're just, you know, trying to go after, the tail of the two programs. There's such a disparity between those two programs right now. You know, Joliet Central, and you know, every single year, I'm pulling for the Joliet team, both of them, every year. And I want to be there when Central wins, because they will eventually win. That program will get turned around.
They win their first game, they're going to shut down the city, let me tell you.
Yeah, well,
city's going to be shut down.
They're going to win eventually, and then I'm not going to sound so stupid when I say that, you know, I'm a fan of theirs, but I'm a fan of, you know, also Joliet West. And Joliet West won this weekend, too, by the way, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But, you know, again, talking about Lincoln Way East, I don't know that anybody... They're certainly, you know, they're going to go undefeated. I mean, I don't give either Joliet West or Joliet Central a shot at Lincoln Way East over the next 2 weeks. So if I'm Coach Zvolar, I'm playing my backups.
Yeah.
So, you know, Fusel, I give Fusel the first half.
He's got his brother.
Both games.
He's got his brother. The younger Fusel.
They got a brother?
Oh, they do.
Oh, come on.
Backup
that's
quarterback.
That's not fair.
Backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's just not right. You know, that's not fair. I think that there should be a rule in the IHSA that says if you're a Division I prospect, I mean, this kid's, you know, Tom Fusel's probably, I think he's a candidate for All-American. He's certainly a candidate for All-State, but I would make the argument that he's a candidate for All-American too. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that he's gotten the love that Aaron Bailey's gotten by the media in general. I mean, just looking at all the reports, I mean, obviously everybody's pointing to him, and I mean, you can now say, wow, what a great quarterback, but where were those people last year when he was a junior? I mean, he was behind Blake Winkler, and you know, so he wasn't playing a lot, but certainly nobody brought up the name Tom Fusel, you know, in you know, the general media that we've read or seen or even heard about until this season.
I'll tell you, I've seen these guys 2 years in a row now. If they're going to win state, he's the key.
Yeah.
He is definitely the key.
Well, you know, and they say that you can't win state without a defense, and the fact of the matter is, you know, the defense, and I don't know exactly, I think it's like 219 to 66, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty close to that they've, you know, given up 66 points. That number's going to considerably go up when you figure the scores of the next two games are probably going to be along the lines of, you know, 49 to zip, 42 to 6. I mean, both those games. So, I mean, you know, I expect out of the next 2 weeks that maybe you're going to get one score combined out of those two programs, the two Joliet programs, against somewhere 80 to 90 points on offense. So you're looking at somewhere, I guess a good bet would be 300 points for, 70 points against. That's a pretty good stat going into the playoffs.
Pretty good stat.
And considering the competition, let's face it, they faced Homewood Flossmoor, not a bad football team, pretty solid this year. Sandburg, certainly not a bad football team. We'll get to Sandburg in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Bolingbrook. So you got four teams that are solid playoff contenders. Montini. So that's the other thing is, this year East has beaten two
state champions. Yeah.
Two defending state champions, not two state champions from a few years ago, but last year the 5A and the 8A state champs were both beat by Lincoln Way East this year. So that says an awful lot.
Well, I would be beating my chest right now, but I'm supposed to be impartial. But everybody knows out there in Frankfurt that I am a big Lincoln Way East fan. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. So and he's got a kid too. So don't be surprised if Big Tone is on his tricycle, with pulling a wagon and moving his furniture on a trike in a wagon and bringing his kid out to Frankfurt.
That's right. Anybody got any houses for rent in Frankfurt? I'm on my way.
Yeah. So but you got a good little football player yourself there.
I sure do.
You got a good little football player.
Yeah, he's okay.
But hey, so anyhow, congratulations to Lincoln Way East. Thanks for showing me up, and I got my jacket clean because as soon as Big Tone got back with the news at the Sports Nest Friday night, there was the basking in the sun for you, and I think the hot sauce is finally the stains. Stains are out of my wings.
All I gotta say is
Yep. So congratulations to you guys, and I hate to say it early. It may sound premature, but great season, undefeated season, I think is in the cards and in the works for.
Let's not say that yet, because then you go to Joliet Central and the football gods can open up the heavens, and you never know what might happen. So
listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, if Moses came and split the Lincoln Way East defense at the 50-yard line and let everybody run through, they still wouldn't win the football game, okay? I don't care what's going to happen. But let's get past that. Let's talk about Sandburg. Sandburg is my surprise team of the year. In fact, they're not my surprise team. They surprised the heck out of me, though. I think Sandburg runs the table. I think they finished the season 8-1, which to me, in this conference, I expected it to go Bolingbrook. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, I picked Bolingbrook to finish on top of the conference, Lincoln Way East to come in second, and HF to come in third. I figured that was going to be pretty much a lock. Especially
we didn't give any Sandburg love.
We didn't give any love to Sandburg, but I'll tell you what, Sandburg. I don't want to say that they got the benefit of playing Bolingbrook when they were down, but let's face it, they got the benefit of playing Bolingbrook without an Aaron Bailey, and I, in a game that took overtime. It was 6-0 for most of that game. Mm-hmm. Bolingbrook could not move the ball. Without Aaron Bailey out there, they had a struggle moving the ball. And it's not just Aaron Bailey. I'm not going to take away all the credit from the Eagles, because the Eagle defense has been sensational all season long. And they gave it to you. Were at that game.
That's right. They gave it to Lincoln Way East. Lincoln Way East beat them in other phases. They gave it to them defensively.
Yeah, so defensively, they're not a pushover. We knew that going into the game. And we both took Sandburg last week over Bolingbrook. I did say, though, if Bailey played, all bets were off, but we were right in saying that Sandburg was probably going to beat Bolingbrook, because Bolingbrook, although they have a pretty decent defense themselves, their offense really struggles without Bailey in the lineup, and forget about John Howard. Let's not forget about they've got another starter out there, another tailback that's not running the ball, that's not making plays. So you got two really important parts of their offense that aren't on the field. Sandburg took advantage of it, though. Lamont Booker, scored in the fourth quarter to tie that game up, 6-6, to end the game, and you're thinking, man, 2 yards out. Booker didn't have a big game either. 22 carries, 37 yards.
He was getting pounded.
He was getting just better than a yard and a half a carry. So he wasn't a big factor in the game. But I will say that surprised. They Jim Hill. Who's heard of quarterback Jim Hill? I don't even think I've ever. I don't know who he is. And you know what? I wouldn't be alone, because apparently nobody in Bolingbrook knew who he was either until he came out in that fourth quarter and tossed a touchdown pass. He hit Ryan Coughlin in the end zone for a 10-yard score on the first play in overtime.
You think when the bus was going down, maybe Jim Hill needed a ride and they figured we'll suit you up,
Very well could have been. I mean, ultimately though, I think that that probably set Bolingbrook back. It was great for Sandburg to get their, to get out there first. They want, get the ball first and score first. I mean, I think that was humiliating. It was a tough loss. And a tough, I wouldn't say tough loss because they didn't lose at that point. They had their shot, but by putting that score up and going up 13-6 over Bolingbrook, that had to work on their psyche.
Yeah. Yep. Like Lincoln Way East, they took the fight out of them by putting Aaron Bailey on the shelf. But Sandburg, good defense. Good defense. You can't beat that.
Well, good. In Quincy Woods, I got to give Quincy. I'll give him his props. I mean, I think Quincy Woods it's unfair to say, hey, he's not fulfilling that loss of Bailey. I mean, he's the quarterback. He's got to step in and fill that role. And you're not going to replace Aaron Bailey. You're just not. You're not going to replace a kid that comes along once every 20 or 25 years. I mean, that's how good Bailey is. And Fusel, same kind of kid. I mean, you're not going to replace guys like that. With somebody on your bench. If it were that easy, everybody be a football coach or everybody be a broadcaster like us.
Oh, right? Yeah, or everybody be a football player.
So again, and the other thing is neither team looked sensational out there. I mean, 152 yards of offense is what the Eagles put up. I mean, so, for a full game of high school football, 152 yards is pretty paltry, to win a football game. I think if you told any team, hey, you're only going to put up 152 yards of offense tonight, you're thinking, hey, this is going to be a loss. They gave up 185 yards of offense, and you're thinking, wow, 100, that's a real low output for a team like Bolingbrook. Yeah, I mean, Stover had a decent night, but not good enough, Anyway, I mean, I think honestly, I think Sandburg had a great night. They took it to Bolingbrook, and at the end of the day, they don't have much competition sitting in front of them left, to win. I mean, they
HF. Still got HF.
They've got HF, but I'm going to tell you something. I mean, and that's going to be a good game too. I said, I don't want to rule that out. That's going to be a good game, but Bolingbrook torched that defense, and there's not, I don't think HF has the kind of defense that Bolingbrook does. I don't think that Sandburg has the offense that East or the Brook does either, but I like Sandburg. I think that they have a shot of running the table. You're talking about a team that's going to go 8-1.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, I don't think we picked them to go 8-1.
We didn't give them no love.
We didn't give them no love. So that's that. There's a little bit of love for you Sandburg Eagle fans that are out there. Congratulations on a good season to this point. Congratulations.
Just want to say one thing. Good concession stand. Good sloppy nachos.
There you go. See, and they got a good football field too.
Good football field. Nice.
Yeah, nice football field. That's been redone. So, and then I guess one of the bigger. I don't know that it's a surprise this year, but it's still a surprise because here you got to go back 6 years. And maybe longer than that. I mean, I went back 6 years to look at this and in the records, but it's been 6 years since Joliet West or Joliet team has beaten Lockport, and they beat them, and they beat them convincingly, 28-7 Friday night. And, that just shows you how far Joliet West has come as a program. I mean, they got 3 wins this season. That's the first time that in recent memory. I don't remember the last time. In fact. And it's got to go back. We got to go back about 6, 7, 8 years since you've seen Joliet with 3 wins in the season. And I know it doesn't sound like much. I mean, if you're a football guy and you're thinking, "Hey, they didn't make the playoffs, big deal. They won 3 games this year." It is a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal when you're out there. You're talking about playing in a conference that's maybe arguably one of the best in the state. When it's at its full grind. I mean, you're looking at Sandburg and their record this year. Look at HF and their record. Look at Lincoln Way East. Look at Bolingbrook. I mean, these are the 4 schools that they've got to play against. I think they could have had 4 wins, certainly, because had they won Plainfield South, and they were winning that game at Plainfield South. That wasn't, hey, Plainfield South took it to them. But had they beaten Plainfield South, maybe they got a shot. Maybe. I mean, maybe that they would have had their shot. But the bottom line is that kudos to Aubrey and the Tigers for getting to where you have gotten to at this point. I'm sure they're disappointed. I said at the beginning of the year that I thought that the Tigers were going to make the playoffs this year, and they didn't. I mean, there was a little, but they had to win the games that they had to win. They had to win their 2 non-conference games. They didn't do that. And they beat Joliet Central. They beat Lockport. So, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I think they're right there. But, ultimately, I think that the Tigers beat themselves. They still are riddled with mistakes on offense, and I don't care if you're the coach, but you've got to be able to make plays. You can't turn the ball over. And sometimes some of their games it's like watching the Keystone Cops. I mean, as many times as the ball jumps around.
Yeah. They still got Nick Freeze out there. They'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good. I mean, Freeze is a good player, but but again, they've got to hang on to the football, and that's been the MO of West.
Those kids got to play Lincoln Way East the last game on a Friday night.
Yeah,
at their place.
Yeah, I know. And so I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody has any wild fantasies that Joliet West is going to beat Lincoln Way East, but
they could.
But
they could.
I think that if I'm playing for Joliet West, and there's some good athletes on that program.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not talking about a team that can't play. They can't tie their own shoelaces. There's some good football players on the Tiger team. I think if Joliet went into Frankfurt and had that chip on their shoulder, like, you know what? This is our senior year. This is it. I'm hanging up the helmet after this, and I'm not playing football ever again. That means that I'm going to do everything I can possibly do to upset a team that's maybe looking past you guys. I mean, there's going to be, it's possible. I mean, no matter how good of a coach Zvonar is, and I give him all the credit in the world because he never looks past anybody, but you still can't stop a 16 or 17-year-old kid from thinking, we got this in the bag. Yeah, coach. We know.
Eyes are rolling. I mean, they take it one game at a time.
Right.
I talk to the Nicky Colangelos, the Tom Fusos, the Kyle Langendorfers. That's all they say. I asked the coach this pertinent question. I don't know if you saw the highlights yet. I asked the coach a pertinent question. How do you keep the team up for Joliet Central? How do you keep them up?
And I don't know that you can keep them up. I mean, at the end of the day, how do you get up for that game? I think it's one of those games where you feel like you got to get healthy. So anybody that's nursing any nagging injuries, some bumps and some bruises, which, look, that's going to happen. I mean, that's going to happen in football, especially in week 7, 8, and 9. You're going to have those nagging injuries.
What do you have to be up to be a running clock?
You have to be up 42 or 40-0.
All right, 40-0. I give it start 2 minutes into the third quarter.
No way.
Yeah,
maybe.
Joliet Central running clock.
Oh, Joliet Central, I think it's going to happen sooner. I mean, unfortunately, I think for Joliet Central, it's going to be midway through or early in the second quarter.
Yeah, they're putting. He doesn't run the score up though. Once he figures he's got a good enough lead.
Yeah.
Here come the subs. They put the subs on defense against Lincoln Way Central.
I actually picked them this week in our poll, 42-6. And that's because Zvonar never runs the score up. I mean, he goes out of his way not to do it.
That's right.
Class act, obviously, and he's and maybe that's why he's blessed with such good football teams because of their discipline, both in coaching and in playing. And so I think it takes a little bit of everybody. And so anyhow, congratulations to Joliet West. I mean, I think thus far it's been a pretty good season for Joliet West. They got Sandburg this week.
Sandburg.
So, I mean, that's going to be a tough. That's going to be a tough.
I'm sorry, Joliet West has Holman Flossmoor coming to their place on Saturday.
Right. So they got Holman Flossmoor there, and Lincoln Way East is coming to Joliet Central on Saturday. So 2 Saturday games, and
which one we taking? I'm taking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one I'll go to yet. I mean,
cheeseburgers are the same at both places. I haven't been to a Julian concession stand yet, so
what?
I'm looking forward. I haven't seen no Julian.
I didn't go in there dumping money every single day.
Dumping money?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, my God, those guys, they should be giving us at least one chicken sandwich apiece.
That's all right. It goes to a good cause. I mean, that's the other thing is I always try to make sure I buy something when I go there because we get into the gate for free because we're media guys.
And I give them the change. Whatever change I got, I let them keep it.
Right, so let them keep it. But we always try to frequent the concession stands because ultimately we get in there for free. So
Lincoln Way East concession stand, though, little suspect. But
little suspect?
Little suspect.
Oh, you're gonna give them a date?
I want to tell you. Something. A real quick story about Lincoln Way East.
Right.
Remember last year at the playoff game, you had to walk?
Yeah.
I didn't have to walk. They gave me a parking space.
They did not give you a parking. They gave him a parking. You guys gave him a parking
space.
All right, listen. You better hope I don't have to do a parking space.
I said to the guy, he says, hey, Do I got to walk 1,000 miles or can I get up close on the meet? He goes, number one, you ain't got to walk 1,000 miles. Okay. He was kind of snotty. But it was okay. He gave me a nice parking space. It was about 50 feet into the gate. Everybody's happy. You know,
so that's because it's Big Tone.
Yeah.
He probably didn't even know who you were.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So kudos again to Mr. Fusel, who was out there going, "It's Big Tone! Give him a space!"
Give him a space.
You know?
Yeah,
Langendorfer.
Mr. Langendorfer, don't worry about it. We're going to be covering some wrestling. I'm coming out your way. We're going to see Kyle wrestle. He's a state champion at 146.
So hey, let's move on to the SBC. Let's talk about Oswego and Plainfield North. I mean, that was your upset special of the week.
Upset special, plus the game of the week.
Play game of the week, and I guess we found out who the alpha male was in this conference. I mean, Oswego beat the living daylights out of Plainfield North, 35-7.
35-7.
You know,
defense always wins, and those guys are always tough at home too.
They're tough at home, and I'm surprised at that though. I got to be honest with you. You know, when you said, "Hey, this is my upset special of the week," I thought, well, it's not really an upset if Oswego were to win, because you could argue the case either way. But the way that they beat Plainfield North, that surprised me. You know, I expected that game to be a lot closer. I did pick Oswego to win that game in our area top 10, but at the same time, I thought it was going to be a one-score game. I didn't think it would be a score of that distance, and maybe that just shows you how far apart Oswego is from everybody else in the SBC, because they've done that to every single team in the SBC that's played them. The only team that really gave them a fight, in my opinion, the only team that really gave them a fight was Oswego East, and you got to throw records out, man. I mean, that's personal. When those kids are playing, they're fighting for their, for inter-town bragging rights, and so when Oswego East played them and put up 20-some-odd points against their defense, that's the only team, by the way, that's been able to do that. So
well, these guys are gearing up quite nicely for the playoffs.
Yeah, they are.
For a nice little run.
I mean, they could be 8-1 when this is all said and done too. They got, I know they got Plainfield Central in week 9, Oswego. So, that could be a pretty stiff contest. But moving on, so now you've got Oswego. They're secured and in their spot. Plainfield North, you got to win another game. You're going to have to win 5. You got to get more than 5 wins. Right now they're sitting at 5-2. They need to win another football game. So playoffs are not a sure thing or a lock for Plainfield North, nor are they a lock for the next team, which is Plainfield Central. I went out Saturday and saw Plainfield Central for their homecoming game. Plainfield Central survived a lot of mistakes early. I mean, they scored on the Gino.
Tortelli.
Yeah, Gino Tortelli took off, scored on the first play from scrimmage. It was looked like a superpower out of the double wing. Standard sweep, kind of hung out there for a little bit. Got to the outside, and it looked like the Plainfield South defense was just kind of. God, I don't know how to explain it, but it just looked like they were in slow motion. They didn't look like they were hitting anybody in that first play, and all of a sudden he squirts out and he's gone. He outraced everybody, got to the end zone, stunned them. 7-0 they jump out, and South couldn't get anything going. I mean, Plainfield Central gave the ball up. They played on their half, and literally Plainfield South I think started at the Central 40 or closer to the goal, almost the entire first half of the game, and they only came away with one touchdown. One touchdown, and that touchdown came out of 4th and 19 or 4. It was 4th and goal from and I'll have to look at the record. But it was 4th and goal from at least 20 yards out, and and if you're at 4th and goal from that far away, you were at one point 1st and goal. So Central was pushing them back. They had given them, they had stopped them once before on 4th down, and so the Plainfield defense kept holding, and finally South gets on the board. But in the second half. It was a really tightly contested game. I mean, nobody really had the advantage in that game. I mean, Central won the game 20-6, or 20-7. They won the game 20-7, but it just didn't. It seemed like Plainfield South, who now only has who's sitting at a couple wins this season or 3 wins this season. I mean, their window of opportunity is going. like this. I mean, they got to win out. They got to win their next 2 games just to get the 5 wins, and then hope that they have a shot.
They have playoff points.
They got to hope. I mean, they're playing. Joliet West was one of their non-conference teams, but Joliet West did okay this year. I mean, they got 3 wins, so that'll help.
They play Bolingbrook as a non-conference.
Right, and they play Bolingbrook, but Bolingbrook is down a little bit too. So counting on Bolingbrook for 8 or 10 or whatever playoff points you're counting on from, you just can't count on for that right now. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's all she wrote. To be honest with you, I mean, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying even if South wins the next 2 games, I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs. And they've got to play Oswego in week 9. And Oswego, I just don't think anybody's going to touch them in the SBC.
Yeah, they're gearing up, like you said, for a nice playoff run.
I've seen every team this year play in the SBC, and I haven't seen anybody that comes close to Oswego. I just and I thought Plainfield North had a shot to win that game, and had the running game, because I just think that North has got a lot of weapons to use on offense, but clearly they are not all on the same page.
No.
Because they weren't able to put up more than 7 points against Oswego, and it ain't going to get easier if they do get into the playoffs. And that's a big if. If they do get into the playoffs and they get their 6 wins, who are they going to face? Are they going to go up against the Glenbard West again and get rocked? In the first round.
Oh.
So again, you just don't know what's in the cards for Plainfield North. Romeoville. I was at the Romeoville Plainfield East game. I hadn't seen Plainfield East play all year. And that's one of my favorites. Obviously Romeoville's one of my favorites, and always has been. And Plainfield East, another one of my favorites.
Would Plainfield East be a disappointment?
Plainfield East, it's a disappointment. Plainfield East is a disappointment in this way. There are a lot of kids on that program that I know and I respect, and I would have liked to seen them go farther. I know that they're good football players. So yeah, is it a disappointment? Yes and no. I mean, they certainly have had their opportunities to win football games, but the problem with Plainfield East, and this is the same problem with Joliet West. They can't hang on to the football.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes. Those mistakes are against a really good football team, you can't keep giving teams chances. And the more chances you give people in a game, the more likely it is you're going to come away with a loss. And so I think a lot of times, in a lot of cases, in a lot of situations for East, they've been their own worst enemy. And so that's that's something that I don't think a coach can change. A coach can't change. He can't change the fact that you're going to hang on the ball and not hang on the ball. I think that there's an occasion where football players try to do too much. They've got the ball, they want the extra yard, they want the extra 2 yards. They're fighting for every yard, and that spirit, I've always liked that spirit in a player. Fight for that extra yard. I'm gonna tell you, my older age, and after watching as much football and coaching as much football as I've coached over the years, I got to tell you, to be honest, I don't like fighting for the extra yard. I like taking what the defense gives me and living to play another play. I think turnovers ultimately are a backbreaker for every team that's out there.
Yep.
They are a season-ending backbreaker for teams. And I think I'd be more conservative, than I would be to say, fight for every yard and, let's go get them. I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, I said that all the time. We got to fight for every yard. We got to run. We got to get every inch, and it's happened to us too. It's happened to some of our teams where our kids are fighting for that extra yardage, and they stand up longer than they should. It gives the defense an opportunity to come in and strip the ball. It gives a kid trying to get that first down, sticks the ball out, it goes out. Sometimes you got kids that are looking downfield before they got the ball. I mean, I'm coming through the hole, and I got the ball. You got to secure the ball before you take off and look downfield.
Yeah.
And so I think ultimately Plainfield East won that game. They won that game pretty handily, 27-14. Romeoville has struggled all season long, and they're the one reason. If there was one reason I could say that Romeoville is 0-7 this year, it's the lack of a quarterback, a consistent quarterback at that position. They've gone through 3 different quarterbacks this season. Jake Bambule, the senior, I said a lot of great things about him at the beginning of the season, that I felt like he could be an all-conference quarterback. Mm-hmm. He certainly had the stats last year to back that up. This season, however, week 1 against Hinsdale South gets put out with a concussion. tries to come back against Bolingbrook, sent out again, comes back against Oswego, rolls an ankle. Mm-hmm. So he's not been healthy all year, and so, I mean, I think that, and then you got a sophomore quarterback coming in there. You had Mark Hammond play quarterback, which is, new for me to see. I mean, Mark Hammond came in because Bambio had to come out of the game after throwing a 2-point conversion. Real nice 2-point conversion that Bambio hit Anthony Love on for a 2-point conversion, tied the game at 14. That's the last time we saw Bambio. And Mark Hammond had to come in, and when you have to do that, when you're playing rotating quarterbacks due to injury or whatever else, you can never get any momentum.
What do you think about their future down the road?
I think Romeoville has got a future. I do think that they got a future, but like everybody, they play in a pretty tough conference. There's a lot of parity in that conference, and if Romeoville is going to get better, one, they need more guys. It's the smallest school. I think it's the smallest school. Without looking at the records, it's the smallest school in the SBC, and so that you have fewer kids to pick from, but you got to recruit every single athlete in that program in order to put together a program. Yeah. I think they got to hit the weights harder. I really do. I think that Coach Kuna, if you've never met Coach Jeff Kuna before, let me tell you, big, strong. I mean, he believes in the weight room, as all their coaching staff does. But Kuna's got some bulk, man. I mean, he's that guy can lift some weight. So you can't say that, the emphasis isn't on the weight room. It's the character. Are you willing to pay the price? We've said this before on Cheap Seats. Are you willing to pay the price in December to play in November? Are you willing to pay that price? And if you're not willing to pay that price, then you're not going to win football games. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again this week. The problem isn't the coach. The problem isn't the school. The problem isn't anything other than the person that's looking in the mirror. That's the God's honest truth. You want to beat football teams, and you got to go out and beat them, but you got to do it. You got to put the work in. You got to put the effort in. You got to get, in my opinion, you've got to get at least 35 to 40 kids of the 70-plus man roster that you could suit up, and Romeoville hasn't had 70 people on their sidelines in a long, long time. But you got to get 35 to 40 kids, that you have a backup at every position, and you're focused and you're fighting for a common goal. If you've only got 10 guys on the rope and 20 guys are pulling on the other side of the rope, you're going to lose. You're not going to win a battle like that. So do they have a future? That's all dependent upon where football goes in this town. Where does football go in Romeoville? The youth programs, I think that there needs to be, I guess when I was growing up, I grew up in Downers Grove, in the Downers Grove area, and I remember the Downers Grove Panther football program. And let me tell you something. It was a big deal when I got my jersey at Downers North. It was a big deal. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. I'm a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid, skinny, maybe weigh 130 pounds soaking wet. And I got a jersey, and I'll never, big, the old cotton jerseys, the real big, thick cotton jerseys. That was my first practice. That thing was probably gray. It was white and purple when I got it, and it was gray and purple when it was done because of all the mud and everything. But I got to tell you, it was a proud moment, and to this day, I still remember that day. I wonder how many kids really feel that way, that there's any school pride left. Where's the school pride? Where's the fight? I don't care what school you go to. I said this, I was talking to one of the parents, and I just think that this society.
It's a different era.
It's a different era, dude. I mean, this is a society today that, everybody, thinks that, they're better than the next guy. They don't have to do it, and I don't have to listen to you, and I got my rights, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know where we're going with society the way it is.
Speaking of putting the ball on the ground, what about Joliet Catholic?
Yeah, let's talk about Joliet Catholic. I think you're right. Let's talk about Joliet Catholic and where Joliet Catholic's at right now. I mean, Joliet Catholic is in the playoffs, but it didn't come easy. Mm-hmm. The last 2 out of the last 3 games that they played have gone to overtime.
These guys ain't going healthy in the playoffs, though, are they?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tyler Reitz, I didn't know this going into this game, but Tyler Reitz was hobbled with an injury and he didn't play. Mike Ivlo, again, banged up and bruised up, and you got to expect that, playing, in Catholic's conference. But, and Isaac Isaac still had a pretty mountain of a game. He got more than 200 yards, got a touchdown, but his touchdown came when it counted most. It came in overtime. Mm-hmm. He got to the 5-yard line, bowled somebody over to get into the end zone to win that game. But, I guess, we always talk about the running backs. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about senior quarterback Craig Slowick. Craig, what a great performance. What a gutsy performance all season long for you this year. All season long. Maybe one of the best. I don't know how many years we have to go back to find a better quarterback than Craig Slowick for Joliet Catholic. But I certainly think that Craig Slowick, his name belongs in the hallways of that school as one of the all-time great quarterbacks for Joliet Catholic. Now, that's saying a lot, right? Well, I just want to point out that maybe he doesn't throw for 450 yards a game and 5 touchdown passes. Okay, I mean, but let's not forget the backfield that he's had the luxury of having. Last year, Malin Jones, Ty Isaac, Tyler Reitz.
Year before, Josh Ferguson.
Josh Ferguson the year before was playing on Saturdays for Illinois right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, the fact of the matter is Slowick has never had to carry the load because he's had so much of it carried for him. But Slowick, I thought, played outstanding in the state championship game against Montini. Mm-hmm. I thought he had a great game. He completed a lot of passes and a lot of great things. He's got a great arm. He's got good size. He's got great deep character. He's got all the intangibles that you want for a quarterback, a Division I quarterback. I really like him. But in this game, Craig Slowick was, to me, the guy who kept the machine going. Mm-hmm. When the machine needed oil, a little squeaky and a little, rattly, and, when the machine needed oil, he was that oil. I mean, he was the kid that was making, and he ended up scoring 3:30 left in the fourth quarter. He ends up scoring, they're trailing 17-16. They get the 2-point conversion. Now it's 24-17. And you think, that's it. JCA's defense is going to go out there and stop Carmel. But Carmel was fighting for their very playoff lives. They only had 2 wins on the season. They needed that 3rd win. And,
didn't get it.
Well, but, JCA's defense didn't hold either.
I like the people in Joliet. I don't want to talk about their defense.
Well, JCA's defense wasn't able to hold, and part of that is Carmel's got a heck of an offense, and they were fighting for everything, for everything. They had everything to lose in that game, so they had every reason to come back and score. I think, interestingly enough, the Carmel coach didn't go for 2. He opted to go for, instead of going for 2 and for the win, kick the extra point. Now it's 24-24. Kicks an onside kick, and he gets it. So I thought that was a good piece of coaching because he had a choice. He could have gone for 2, but had he gone for 2 and missed it, the onside kick was automatic. Yeah. But by going for 1 and then going for an onside kick, you got the tie. If you get it, you got a shot for the win. And as opposed to, you can't win going for any other way than getting that onside kick. They got it, and they had a shot. They had a 41-yard field goal go wide at the end of regulation, which forced the overtime. JCA's defense came up big in that overtime period, and I think it was a 4th and 19, 4th and goal from the 19-yard line. They threw a pick, and that was all she wrote. And JCA ran off with a win, and with their 5th win of the season, because of their playoff point situation, who they played, they're already a lock for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now, for Joliet Catholic, right now the rest of the season comes down to playoff positioning. If you've got 5 wins and you think, okay, now's the time that I want to rest, Isaac, or I want to rest. I mean, it's possible. You can sandbag a little bit, but you're going to pull a top seed. You're going to play a top seed right out of the gate. So I don't know that they want to rest anybody. It just depends. It's a toss-up, man.
Who do you think a top seed would be in 5A?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. You're going to face Morris, and I think that if you're playing Morris, I don't know how I have to look up, brush up myself up on the rules of who plays where, but because last year JCA had to go to Morris. Mm-hmm. JCA was at Morris, and so if they play each other again this year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have to play at Memorial Stadium. But to be honest with you, if you're a Morris Redskin, I don't think you're afraid to play it anywhere. Nope. I mean, you're going to come after JCA with all you got. And Catholic's defense is going to have to come up really big against Morris.
Morris going to pound the ball, run right through the tackles, and say, "You're going to have to stop us."
You're going to have to stop us, and their defense is pretty stout themselves.
Oh yeah.
So, that's going to be a bruiser of a game. And you need everybody healthy. If JCA is going to win that football game against Morris, and they're going to play Morris, I think at some point in the postseason, if they're going to advance, they got to be healthy. They got to be healthy. So I guess do you say, hey, do I want to play Morris in week 1, or do I want to play Morris in week 10? First week of the playoffs being week 1, but say week 10, or do you want to play Morris, down the road a little bit and get a better seed? There's a chance that you could draw Morris, right out of the gate. A 5-win team, you might draw what, and then.
Richwoods is in their division.
Yeah, but they'd have to go down state to play them. I don't think you'd see them right out of the gate. I mean, I think you'd see somebody like Lincoln Way West, Lincoln Way West or somebody like that that they could end up playing if they were to get the next 2 wins. Mm-hmm. Let's say the JCA finishes with 7 wins. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just depends. I mean, do you want, you've been hobbled all season long. Do you want that extra game before you have to play the team that you got to beat? Either way, the road to the championship this year, the road to downstate goes through Morris. And you're going to have to play Morris. So do you want to play him out of the gate? Or do you want to play him, in week 11 or 12? For me, my choice, I'd say play him out of the gate.
I'd play him right there, too.
Why take a chance? We've been hobbled and everything else. Let's sit our guys. Let them get healthy the last 2 games of the season. Let them get, let's play our backups. Let's do what we can to win those last 2 football games. But we're going to sit Isaac. We're gonna rest some people. We're going to get healthy, and then we're going to go into Morris and play Morris in week 10. We're going to play them at full strength.
Yeah, it might be. They're dangerous full strength.
They're dangerous. They're a dangerous football team full strength. I think So I don't know. I mean, you can't say, hey, go out and lose a football game. But at the same time, I don't know how much weight you need to put on week 7 week 8 and 9.
That's your proverbial catch-22 question.
It's a catch-22, So I guess it just depends, I mean, Coach Dan Sharp. Look, for everything I know of Coach Dan Sharp, there's no way that guy's laying down to anybody ever on any team. I don't care what the week is. But like I said, if it were me and I'm, we're flies on the wall, right? That's why we call it the cheap seats, because we're sitting in the cheap seats. It's easy for us to make the calls.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I like I said, I think I'm sitting my backfield. I'm playing my backups, and I'm making darn sure that when I see Morris, I got all the weapons that I need. I got everybody I need on the football field. Mm-hmm. Because positioning at this point, I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make for JCA.
Not much.
I just don't think,
much.
And if they win that first week, they got a really easy road after that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say a really easy road. Let me rephrase that, but I just say it's an easier path to the state championship if you play a 1 seed and drop a 1 seed in the first round of the playoffs. You've got a nice.
They're going to see Montini too.
So
Montini's in their mirror.
Well, Montini. If they see Montini, they'll see Montini at the end of the year. They won't see Montini during the playoffs. They'll see him back down.
Hope they don't give 70 to Montini again.
So I don't think Montini's capable.
Oh, their defense is okay.
Hey, Montini lost to Marion Catholic. They lost 49-24.
Marion Catholic? Maris is pretty good too. What I hear down.
Yeah, but it's Woodstock. I guess is the shorter term of that. But I mean, Montini is struggled a little bit this season too, and it's not going to get easier for them. They got 2 tough games left on their schedule too, and it's quite possible that they lose their next 2 games, and now you're talking about a Montini team that has 4 losses on the season.
Ooh, they may not make the playoffs.
No, they'll make the playoffs, but they'll be like JCA with those 5 wins. They'll make the playoffs, but it's possible that they lose the next 2 weeks. They're playing 2 really good, talented teams. Mm-hmm. I think that those 2 teams, one of them is 7-0, and the other one is 6-1. Heading into so the last 2 teams they have, I have a combined loss record of 1 loss between those 2 teams that they're facing. So, again, it could be a paper champion. I really don't know because I don't go up there and see those games. So I can't pretend to say that this team's 7-0 records because they haven't played anybody, or I'm not going to go there. But I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm excited for the playoffs. there's a lot of teams that got knocked out of the playoffs, and their seasons are coming to an end. And then you get kind of that melancholy part, where, my kid's a senior. This is it for him. This is the last chance I get to cheer for him. I'm telling you, man, I don't know. I know for myself, that my son is a senior in high school.
So is mine.
And I'm going to get a chance to see him. He plays basketball, and so I'm going to get a chance to see him. I don't know how I'm going to react sitting in the stands, and doing what I do for a living, and Big Toe and what we do together.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about everybody else's kids, but who's to say we could be both sitting up in the stands crying our eyes out as they're putting it away.
Oh man, well,
who do you know? But,
who do you know?
But I mean, I know that football's an emotional sport, and it takes so much. Man, it takes so much. You dedicate 9 months of your life to play football.
Yeah,
it's a 9-month process. I mean, you start practicing. In their summer sessions, in their summer football leagues, in June.
Mm-hmm.
So you got, June through November, you're in the season. And in the off season, you're in the weight room.
Yeah.
And you're doing something. And if you're a football player, it's all the time for them. So.
Yeah. So what's going on this week? Where are you going?
I don't know. I mean, let's talk about, what this week, I mean, last week you had a couple of hits and a couple of misses and, whatever. I mean, what's going to be your game of the week this week? I'm interested to see. We'll start off with your game of the week.
My game of the week.
And then your upset special.
My game of the week. Wow. My game of the week. Well, I'll tell you. My game of the week is going to be Hinsdale South and Downers Grove South. This game will be played at Hinsdale, home of the Hornets. Hornet power. I'm really conflicted about that game. Because back in the day, freshman year, I went to Downers South. Then sophomore, junior, senior year, I graduated from Hinsdale South. I'm going back to the old football field, which I played in the band. Okay, I played in the band back in high school. So, hey, big deal. I was a tuba player. So if you were back there in 1982 and you saw a big, ugly kid playing the tuba, more than likely that was me. But my game of the week, I'm going to basically to see Coach Belkis. Coach Belkis is a Hall of Fame coach. I didn't get the chance to see him all year. His team's not doing as good as expected, but so what? He's due to have an off year. He's had, 25 winning seasons. He's had his first losing season. Big deal. Coach Belkis, you're still a man. You're still a great coach, and you still got a good team. Hinsdale South, though. Playoff bound, Hinsdale South. So, hold on. Don't look, Coach Belkis. Okay? I'm happy. Hinsdale South finally made the playoffs. As we were talking in the Sports Nest in the earlier weeks, talking about Hinsdale South, Rooster, when is Hinsdale South going to make the top 10? They're 6-1. When are they going to make the top 10? Okay? Maybe this week Hinsdale South will come in at number 10. You never know. You'll have to read up. Okay? Now, my upset special. Why am I picking my upset special? Well, I'll tell you why. Romeoville and Oswego East. Romeoville, oh Romeoville. You got to win at least one game. I'm taking this. This is the week. You're going to go into Oswego East. You're going to dominate. You're going to win. I don't know what the score is. The score might be 3-0. Might be 10-0. Might be 17-14. Who knows? But you got to win at least one game. Last week of the season, you're playing Minooka. Minooka's going to be tough. If this is the way to do it, this is the time to do it. You go to Oswego East, upset special, Romeoville, 17, Oswego East, 10. How about that? That's a safe score for the bookies back in Vegas, huh?
All right, my game of the week is really probably a little bit like Coach Tone's. I'm going to stick with Hinsdale Central at Downers Grove North. And the reason I'm going to pick that as my game of the week is Downers Grove North needs that win. Hinsdale Central coming in, they're going to be tough. I don't know that North can beat them. North is a young football team. Remember, they got a sophomore quarterback in Edwards. And last week I thought Downers Grove North was going to beat Proviso West, and they lost. So everything is on the line for North in the next 2 weeks. They've got Glenbard West left, and they've got Hinsdale Central. And so this is their last home game of the season. All the cards are riding on this game. I mean, they got 5 wins, but I wouldn't feel comfortable if I were you, Downers Grove North, with 5 wins right now. I mean, do I think maybe you'll get into the playoffs? Perhaps. I think you'll get into the playoffs with 5 wins. We'll see. But I wouldn't feel comfortable with it And so I think that this is going to be a big, big game for Downers Grove North and for their fans. And if the Purple People Eaters come out and cheer on these guys, and they can get their running game going, and they get a few breaks in this game, they got a shot to win this one. I don't know that they can overcome Hinsdale Central. Hinsdale Central's name is bigger than and their lore is bigger than I'd like to give them credit for, because I, like Coach Tone, I'm a former Downers Grove North graduate. So I'm from Downers Grove North, and that's my alma mater, and of course I'm going to stick with them here. But I'm not going to go out on a limb and say they're going to win the football game. Unfortunately, if you're a North football fan, I'm sad to say that I think Hinsdale Central is going to get out of that game somewhere along the lines of a 35-14. I think it's going to be that big of a spread. I don't even think they'll miss an extra point. I just think that they're much farther along the food chain right now than Downers Grove North is. I think Downers Grove North, there's a lot of great years ahead of them. Anytime you got an Edwards in the backfield, that spells good things for Downers Grove North, but I do think that this just isn't going to be their year to beat Hinsdale Central. I think they'll give them a fight, especially early, but I think Central is going to take it to them in the second and third quarters and put the game out of reach early. So I just don't know. I don't think North has got a shot in this one, but we shall see. So that's my game of the week, my upset special. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at this and going, what could possibly be my upset special for the week? But I think I got a pretty good one here. My upset special is going to be Plainfield East over Plainfield Central. Plainfield Central is sitting at 5 wins right now, and they're a good football team. And I like what I see out there. And there's a lot of kids out there I know and respect, but there's also a lot of kids on Plainfield East. I think Plainfield East is in a good position to play spoiler here, and they can do what Romeoville did to Plainfield Central last year, and that is, beat them at the end of the season and keep them at 5 wins, and make them sweat it out. Are they going to make the playoffs or are they not going to make the playoffs? Are they going to make the playoffs or they're not going to make the playoffs? The one thing that I don't like about Plainfield Central right now is their consistency. I mean, defensively, I think they're a pretty solid defensive team. Offensively, they go as their running backs go. I mean, honestly, I'd like to see them open that offense up a little bit, throw the ball a little bit more than they traditionally have, especially against Plainfield East. But I'm going to tell you something. I saw Plainfield East defense, and they're good. They're real good, and they're really underrated. This is a good football team. This isn't a pushover. The problem with Plainfield East is turnovers. If they limit the turnovers, they win this football game. I'm going to tell you right now, if they limit turnovers, they win the football game. I still think that East is going to pull this one out. I think that they got a lot of bragging rights. I think that this would be the most wins that Plainfield East has had since the school opened up for football. I think they're tuned into that. They've only got 2 wins on the season. They want to finish the season with 4 wins. That may be biting off more than they can chew, but at least this week, let's see what my play. Yeah, there we go. It's exactly what I thought, Mr. 8-Ball. My 8-Ball's always right. I'm going to call it again here. Plainfield East is going to get out of this game 27-20. They'll win by a touchdown.
Remember your 8-Ball was wrong last week.
Yeah, Don't listen to him. He don't know what he's talking about. 27-20, Bengals beat the Wildcats. You heard it here first. So hey, man, I mean, I think we got some good upset specials.
Yeah, Romeo, I think Romeo...
You keep knocking my 8-Ball.
Hey, it's been wrong all year.
Hey,
Come on.
You bought me this thing. You bought me the 8-Ball for Christmas because I busted the last one.
Well, we bought it at Walmart.
Yeah, you bought me this. Yeah, we got it at Walmart. That tells you. Yeah, there you go, right there. Okay, we got it at Walmart. We didn't get it at Toys R Us. When I got the one at Toys R Us, it was dead accurate. This one's off a little bit. I think I think quality control missed a couple things here because I always get this thing that says try again.
Try again.
I don't want to try again. I mean, what kind of 8-Ball is that? So I don't know, man. But yeah, you were right last week. I mean, Lincoln Way Central. I went out on a limb there for the Knights. And like I said, thanks a lot, Mr. Fusel, for cutting me off the limb.
Lincoln Way Saturday going to be at Joliet Central.
Hey, you know what? I could have said Joliet Central was going to win.
But then we'd have to get the rubber guys in the rubber room and take your way.
So anyhow, I mean, I don't know. Where's Will? I think you beat us both. You beat me last week. You beat Will the week before.
Will, I got a. I'm going to say one thing about Will Smith. Will, I love you, brother, but I got a message for you. With Big Tone.
All right.
Thank you, Will.
I'll tell you what. I mean, that is kind of funny because that's going back, and we'll keep that one under the lid. But that's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, you're the winner of 2 big weeks. I mean, Big Tone's got all the reasons why he can crow now.
Oh,
I mean,
you betcha.
He's been talking this smack ever since last year's playoff loss to Wheaton Warrenville South. And first of all, he was in a depression for most of the winter because of what happened to
Lincoln Way East. The train keeps on going.
Hey, all I know is you ain't got nothing until you got one of these, baby. Until you got one of these, you ain't nothing.
Coach Zolan, when you guys win the state championship, when you win, I need a shirt, okay?
Well, I got a shirt, and it says The Brook on the back, and there's a reason for it, okay?
Here we go.
So when you got one of these,
here we go.
And you got this, this good name like the Rooster,
Tom Fusel Senior. I need a petition going, Mr. Fusel Senior, that when you guys win the state championship, when you win, I need a shirt too, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I mean, listen. Even Plainfield East, one of my favorite teams out there. I got a football helmet for that. What do you get?
I got a rock.
You got a rock. You got a parking space. Space.
Hey,
That's why
I didn't have to walk.
That's why Lincoln Way East won't win the state championship.
I don't think so.
This year.
I didn't have to walk.
They don't like us. You know what?
I know they don't like you. I'm a celebrity. They don't like you.
Well, but the thing is, I think what it is some of these teams get spoiled with their media coverage. I think they get spoiled. I think they think, hey, I got this newspaper and that newspaper and this radio station. They got all those people, and that's why I like the schools that not necessarily have gotten to the top, not necessarily have the 10-0 records and the the perfect flawless seasons and the big games. I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that we've got schools that appreciate when we show up and we do what we do. I mean, you got let's face it, we ain't getting rich doing this.
Nope.
We do this for the juice.
We
love
do
doing
it for the juice or for the kids.
Right.
Give kids some exposure.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, I think that there's a lot of radio shows and there's other stuff out there, and they all got something to say, and but we got an opinion too. I mean, we've watched a lot of high school football in our years. We've played it. We've coached it.
And if you don't like our opinion, don't listen.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Don't listen.
That's why I tune you out every time you start talking about Lincoln Way East.
Don't listen. Oh, the Brook.
Yeah,
49 to what?
Yeah, okay. I got a T-shirt. So until you guys at Lincoln Way East can get him, maybe get him an old jersey. Right. I think he'd look good.
I look good in a Lincoln Way East jersey.
You'd have to find a triple XL, maybe a quad XL for him. That's why they call him Big Tone.
Are we done with this? Storage Wars is on. I gotta go home. Are we done?
Yeah, we're not. Well, we're almost done. I mean, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in and for giving our show some credibility over the years. This has gone on a long time. This is a big production for us. We've tried to get better at it every year, and we've gotten a little bit of attention from another media company, and when we get to that point where we're able to talk about it, we're gonna have some big changes again. With the cheap seats and with the sports nest, and we want to keep this rolling. I want to do this for the next 20 years.
Yeah, me too. I hate my job during the day in real life. This is our fantasy life.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, some people enjoy golf. We enjoy freezing our tails off.
That's right. It was cold in Lincoln Way East last week. I just want to let you know it was cold.
Yeah, it was.
You were sitting up there in the booth in Romeoville. I was in Lincoln Way East in the trenches.
But I had to be on. I was doing the Comcast, the whole FPTV Comcast.
Rooster, everybody loves the rooster. Clacky, 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 clacky goes the rooster.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though. I mean, Big Tone. Like I said, you're going to stifle it until you get a jersey. Okay?
No. Because I will scream Lincoln Way East to the highest mountain. I give a crap about stuff. Did I say crap? Crap?
Yeah.
Can you say crap?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's okay saying crap.
Okay to say crap?
Yeah,
okay,
I think so.
Okay, good. I'm going to scream Lincoln Way East to the highest mountain. I mean, they're a complete team. Plus, they got the drive. You know, you don't have no drive, you ain't going nowhere. So.
Yeah, so, and I do want to point out, too, as long as we're on cheap seats, I know that many of you have asked us, when do our highlights go up, when are we doing that, and obviously we're going through some interchanges, so to speak, and maybe it's like, the whole management thing, that secret veil that everybody hides behind, who management's around. Right now, Big Tone and I own the show, but, we're like I said, we're always improving. If I were you, I would check out www.thetimesweekly.com. They're a newspaper out of Will County, been around 30 years. So again, www.thetimesweekly.com. And that's where you can find a lot of Rooster stuff. I write sports in that newspaper every week. So some of you that are wondering where you can find me during the week.
That's right. On the Fence, I never miss the column. On the Fence.
Yeah, On the Fence is my column in there, and obviously I cover a lot of high school football.
It's insightful, it's informative, and very thoughtful, and very warm and tender. Check it out.
See, I mean, do I have to pay you for that?
No.
No, I don't have to pay. It's free.
We're 12 years. It's free. After 12 years, everything's free.
Yeah, everything's free after 12 years of doing this, right? But, at the end of the day, look, it's been a great season to this point. There's a lot of hidden stories, but I think the teams that we thought were going to be in the playoffs are there. There's a couple of surprises that didn't get in this year, but for the most part, we're heading into, the final stretch of the football season. We want to wish you guys luck. Stay healthy. Get yourself ready for the postseason. For those of you who are not playing in the postseason, and this is it for you, the last 2 weeks, play it like there's no tomorrow.
Leave it on the field.
Yep, leave it on the field.
All right, hey, Rooster, the girlfriend, she's calling, man. I got to go.
You did this to me last week. You said you were going to start the car. You said you were going to start the car last week, and I got out there, his car wouldn't start. So go figure. Big Tone's got to, get jumper cables. So, but anyhow, hey, we want to thank you for tuning in to the show this week. Thanks for tuning in to Cheap Seats. We'll be out there in full force with our cameras out there in full force, and all of our insights will be out throughout the week. So, like I said last week, if you're a football player, be a football player. We'll catch you right here next week, only on the Cheap Seats.